Hello everybody, Roger here, and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So today I'm doing a review of the book called The Sidekicks by Will Kostakis. Now I've decided to change the format of my reviews a bit so that they're a little more cohesive. So what I'm going to do is break them down into 4 parts. The story, which is the synopsis of the book, the prose, what I liked about the book, the cons, any niggles I had with the book or parts I didn't like, and my final verdict. So as I mentioned, today's book is The Sidekicks, which is in the young adult category of the Lambda Literary Awards finalists for 2018. Lambda Literary Awards provides yearly awards in numerous categories of LGBT literature. The Sidekicks has also been shortlisted for the Queensland Literary Awards as well as the Lambda Literary Awards. The author, Will Kostakis, is an Australian author who won the 2014 Gold Inky Award for his second novel, which is entitled The First Third, which I haven't read yet, but is now on my TBR list. So on to the review. Now the story is set in northern Sydney, revolves around 3 friends, Ryan, Harley, and Miles, whose good friend Isaac had just died. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of The History Is All You Left Me, as that scene starts out, that book starts out at the scene of a funeral. So anyway, so the thing with these 3 is that they are not friends really with each other, but they were each close friends with the deceased Isaac. In fact, these 3 really don't like each other very much, and they couldn't be more different from one another. The only thing that they really have in common in the book is their grief over Isaac's death. So the book is broken down into 3 sections, each told from a different boy's perspective. Now, 3 sections are named The Swimmer, which is told from Ryan's point of view, The Rebel, which is told from Harley's point of view, and The Nerd, which is told from Miles's point of view. Now, each section starts out with the boy being called to the school deputy's office, Miss Evans, where they are told the news that their friend Isaac was killed at a party when he dove into a water and hit his head on the boat. So what follows is an exposition of each boy's reflections and flashbacks about the relationship to Isaac and the relationship to each other. Now, for the prose, what I liked about this book, I especially enjoyed the fact that each section built upon the previous section so that we saw progression as we moved from one character's point of view to the next. And though there was some repetition of events, we were able to revisit it through the unique perspective of the new character. I also loved how relatable the characters were. They were so human and so real, complete with flaws, self-doubts, personal struggles, and personality clashes, which lent a really strong realism to the story. I also liked how Isaac's death affected each one of them differently, illustrating how grief affects all of us in different ways. This was apparent in the depiction of the different emotions each of the 3 experienced in the days following Isaac's passing. I was impressed by how distinct and unique each of the characters' voice and personality were. Each section had a markedly different writing style based on the character's personality, which I found a lot of fun. Now, while the book does deal with heavy subject matter, there are also plenty of humorous moments in the book, many of which made me laugh out loud. It also stressed the importance of family relationships and friendships in the story, and both were wonderfully portrayed, in my opinion. In so many young adult books, the parents are either absent or despised by the characters, which was not the case here. The relationships between the boy and their parents are positively portrayed, and that the parents were present figures in the boys' lives. Now, as for the ending, it was so beautiful that it brought tears to my eyes as the 3 boys discovered the threads that tied them together, finally realizing that with some endings come new beginnings. So this way, the book wasn't only about grief, but it was also about acceptance. One thing that struck me was how the book moved away from stereotypes often found in gay-themed novels or novels with gay characters. I liked the fact that it wasn't the uppity, snitty, overly particular, sports-hating character that was gay, but rather it was the Olympic hopeful jock, which I really liked. Cons. As for niggles, initially I found the story somewhat confusing and kind of slow-moving. To be truthful, there's not a lot of action in the book. This is definitely a character-driven story as we delve into each character's head as they revisit their friendship with Isaac. I also found parts of Miles's section challenging to get through, as it consisted of bits of dialogue from a film that he was revisiting, a film in which Isaac was starring. So it's kind of I found that a little bit jarring to read. So though it was a bit jarring, these sections did end up being poignant and relevant to Miles's growth as a character, and I did get used to them after a bit. I also found it somewhat off-putting that there are no chapters in the book. Now, as I mentioned, the book is divided into 3 sections. Now, there are several section breaks, like for instance for here and here, which provided stopping points, which I eventually got used to. But very often when you're reading, you always say, I'll just read until the next chapter. Well, in this book, you have to read a third of the book to get to the next major section. So as for verdict, in my opinion, The Sidekicks was a gem of a book, and I ended up loving it, and as well as all 3 characters. This novel is an excellent exploration of grief, resulting in each character's growth by the end of the book, as they re-examine the boxes in which they place themselves and each other. I also felt that this book was an excellent portrayal of teenage life. Now, this was a heavy-hitting book that was both heart-wrenching and uplifting at the same time, and it might make you cry throughout the story a time or two, especially during the end, which in my opinion was absolutely beautiful and extremely well done. The Sidekicks is a bittersweet story that I'm guessing will stay with me for a long time, and I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. And that's it for The Sidekicks. I hope you found this review interesting. And then again, as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.